GameStop is back, and this time the good news about the company. So if you're planning to invest in the company, I think now's the best time to do that. Since GameStop, the company has raised $500 million or 551 million to accelerate their change in their business platform from a brick and mortar retail business to a e-commerce led business. Now, according to Reuters.com, it mentions here that their shift is important. So in order to do that, they need to raise equity here. And once they did that, they were able to raise the said amount. Their shares were increased by 15%. And that's good news. And obviously, according to the company, if if you're not familiar with the company, they were in the news a few months back in terms of the Reddit fueled trading frenzy that happened, which many investors thought that the company was lagging behind or not doing well. They tried to short the company in terms of investments, while other investors or individual investors said otherwise and tried to help the business here. Anyway, fast forward today, the company shift from a fledgling retail business to e-commerce platform, wherein they sold 3.5 million shares to be able to raise the said amount earlier. So they provided that in their market offering. Now the average price of shares was sold at $157.43, and the company has gained more than 850% this year alone. So meaning there has been a big push, and this push has been all due to the retail investors to drive up the prices of heavily shorted stocks, which what happened earlier this year. And the CEO, George Sherman, will step down due to a management shakeup, so giving top shareholder Ryan Cohen more control here. Now, for those who are not familiar who Mr. Cohen here is, who's part the RC Ventures, which already own nearly 13% of GameStop. So this will give him more leeway in terms of transforming the company into an e-commerce firm, which obviously, if they're going to do that, they have to compete with some of the big retailers in the world. And namely, you have Walmart, just one, then you have Amazon, another. And obviously, they're not just in the retailer competing with them, they'll also be competing with other technology companies like Microsoft, you have Sony, and even Apple here. So what will happen to the company? So it's looking promising here with the change in their direction, going to a different direction than what they've been doing in previous years. Hopefully, it's still enough time for them to recover and be able to gain a foothold in the near future here. Anyway, next we have the spat. Well, not the size spat. Now it's become official. The protest between Blue Origin, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, and SpaceX, Elon Musk's SpaceX, wherein NASA awarded the lunar lander contract to Elon Musk's SpaceX company. And obviously, Blue Origin was not too thrilled to hear about the news. And according to CNBC.com, they mentioned that Blue Origin company has filed a protest within the Government Accountability Office against NASA. Now, I don't know, suing the NASA is a good decision here for the company, but anyway, they're challenging the agency's award of almost $3 billion of the moon lander contract to SpaceX, as mentioned. So NASA's HLS, or Human Landing System program, is focused on building a lunar lander that can carry astronauts to the moon's surface. Now, obviously, it's not just primarily for sightseeing, transporting people to and from, but maybe in the future trying to mine resources that are not common in our planet, that is plentiful in the moon here. So we'll have to wait and see why those companies are trying to get the bid here or be able to get the contract. Anyway, so going back, so Blue Origin's contention here, as mentioned, that the award was considered flawed, and they are they're doing what they're doing, and based on on NASA's word, they mentioned that their decision of just choosing one company here, in this case SpaceX, eliminates opportunities for competition, which is true. But obviously, you have to look at the context or the situation that NASA is in, which they've made it clear in the situation, and we'll discuss it in a bit. Anyway, they also mentioned that they're contesting that it significantly narrows the supply base. Obviously, having two suppliers is better than just have one. So, and they're also stating that, with this decision of choosing one company, it endangers the America's return to the moon, which is highly doubted. If maybe they just want to have that contract rather than someone else have that contract. But they're making their point, and they're also stating that the evaluation of the company's proposal that cost almost $6 billion, which is pretty expensive if you think about it. That's why I think those two companies are trying to get that contract. Will be twice of that of SpaceX. Now they're protesting because of cost funding for both proposal would have been under 9 billion. So obviously 6 billion is still smaller compared to 9 billion here, and price will be a main issue here as to their decision, as to NASA's decision. Anyway, Blue Origins has mentioned that in failing to maintain two sources, as mentioned, or two companies in this case, the decision creates a number of issues, obviously. And then putting NASA's eggs in one basket is a problem here. If there's a delay, there's a problem within the company, then you're stuck with it for the foreseeable future. But again, NASA mentions later that they have three criteria that we'll be discussing in a bit. But anyway, let's start first with Blue Origin's 5 objection points, if that's the case here. So first, they mentioned that it did not give competitors an opportunity to meaningfully compete, as mentioned. And not only that, it mentions that the requirements change to its undisclosed perceived shortfall of funding, which is obviously for any project here in this, gargantuan amount in terms of billion of dollars, who's going to fund it? Now, for those who are not familiar, NASA is, under the American government here, or US government. So anything that the NASA needs to do has to pass through Congress before they can even, get a paperclip or anything that they need to run the program here. So whether Blue Origin has a case here, it's very thin. Anyway, so the second point that Blue Origin is mentioning, that the acquisition process was flawed under the agency's acquisition rules. Now, as long it's mentioned or discussed between said parties who are trying to get the contract here, I think it's clearly stated. Now, the third point they're mentioning here, that the evaluation process was considered unreasonable, which we'll see in a little bit. So, and fourth, they mentioned that the NASA improperly and disparately evaluated SpaceX proposal, meaning did they favor Elon Musk's company because they are in cahoots in a sense. So we'll take a look in their criteria as mentioned, if that's if they have strong case here. And fifth and finally, they mentioned that the evaluation process of NASA changed its weight. So giving key criteria, in this case price, the most important factor because of perceived funding limitation. Now again, NASA is under the US government. So funding will have to be approved by the Congress. And no matter what the president says, if Congress does not approve it, or obviously right now there's a pandemic that's going on, they have to prioritize health over any other departments here. In this case, the space funding would be the short stick here. Anyway, Blue Origin, the companies mentioned that they've highlighted their work done to develop its lunar lander. So they mentioned they've already invested an undisclosed amount into the BE-7 rocket engine, and they plan to use it for space exploration. Now, obviously, investing on it is necessary, then pointing it out that they've already invested a lot of money, and then blaming NASA if they didn't choose them, which is totally unfair in a sense. As a business, that's part of your innovation and R&D, so to speak. Anyway, going to NASA's side now. So NASA has 3 selection criteria or primary factors in choosing which company and what led them to choosing SpaceX here. So there are 3 criteria. You have technical ability, that's one. The price, as mentioned, is a key factor now. And then the management rating, obviously being able to manage the situation, not just on on whether SpaceX or even Blue Origin, as you deal with NASA on the other side as a government contractor and so forth. Now, for the first part, you have the technical rating. Both SpaceX and Blue Origin had an acceptable review. So meaning that's 1 point for each. Now, in terms of the price, here's where the differentiation comes in. SpaceX had a lowest price, and it was a by wide margin, meaning Blue Origin charged a pretty hefty amount to provide their service here. So obviously here SpaceX won here in terms of price. And then finally, in terms of management rating, SpaceX had an outstanding rating while Blue Origin only had very good here. So meaning 3 out of the 3 criteria, SpaceX met their criteria while only Blue Origin met 1 of the 3. So meaning it was a clear-cut choice that, you know, SpaceX is the clear winner here. And NASA also mentioned that the selection committee said it found 2 instances on the proposed advance payment by the Blue Origin proposal, which obviously if you're a government, if you can delay your payment as much as possible, then you want to do that rather than pay it in advance, right? Obviously, it's different when it's a private company versus a public held company, or in this case, public government here. Anyway, they also mentioned, they added that there was this kick-off meeting. Related payments are counter to solicitations instruction and renders Blue Origin's proposal ineligible for award, as mentioned. So, and here's the thing. So the project that they requested, NASA requested in the sum of 3.4 billion, which is, you know, not a pretty significant, but still, you know, a large sum of money when you consider it's in the billions for the implementation of the HLS program. Guess what? How much Congress approved? It only approved measly 850 million. So I think price was really the key determining factor amongst the other 2 criteria as mentioned that led them to choose SpaceX here. Now, is it right for Blue Origin to file a complaint and, you know, file grievances with the government here if you want to have future dealings in the future? I think, you know, that's not the right way of dealing with it. Obviously, you'll have more opportunities later on if you try to provide a better service, in this case a competitive service and pricing here. And we'll see what happens here, so I'll keep everyone updated with the news here. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to read the full article, I put in the link in the description below. Come back again next Wednesday for more news update. If you enjoy these types of videos, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. So always stay safe. I'll see you in the next video.